Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jai Guru More Tumamina Kela Kalo Jagat Samsare Patitya Pwanhetu Tavalavadara Mosamo Tita Prabhu La Paimera Mahaprabhu Nityananda Premananda Suki Kripabalakan Akara Ami Varutuke Doya Koro Sitapate Vita Goswami Navagriba Molipaye Chaitanya Sarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Bhatta Yoga Shijiva Prabhu Lokanath Oya Koro Shiacharya Prabhu Srinivas Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamadaras Noyakoro Shiacharya Prabhu Srinivas Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamadaras Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Guru More Tomamina Dayalo Jagat Samsare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Nichai Gaur, Haribo, Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvatacharya also Tada Satoshi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lalasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol, all glory is to the assembled devotees, all glory is to the assembled devotees, all glory is to the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste, Saraswati Devi Gaur Vani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarni. So here is the translation of this song called Savarana Shigora Pada Padme Prajana by Narottamadas Thakur. My dear Lord, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your lordship within these three worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you, you will not find a more fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I've come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance upon me, I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally, Lord Chaitanya Nityananda will also be kind to me. I pray for the mercy of Sarup Damodar, the six Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Bhatta Raghunath Goswami, Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, and Lokanath Prabhu. I, Narottamadas, pray to the merciful Srinivasacharya, and I always desire the company of Ramchandra. Ramchandra is his friend, not Lord Ramchandra, in this particular poem. So, let us continue with our study of the Bhajan Nahasha by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Right now, we are talking about Bhava. Okay, just to reiterate the whole, summary of the Bhajan Rahasya. The Bhajan Rahasya is a book written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that details the different stages of devotional service and corresponds each one of those stages with a different time of the day of Krishna's pastimes, with a different verse in the Shikshastika prayers by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And also they can be corresponded with a different pair of mantras in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In other words, 8. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's 8. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And so he is telling us in this particular work how to achieve that stage in devotional service, and then what are the symptoms of one on this stage, and how to analyze the different symptoms, which we're going to hear about in the description of bhava. So we're on the platform of bhava right now. Bhava means emotion. Anyway, let's get to Prajnanahasha. So, Megana Timirandasha Garanjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So we're going to share the screen. Here we go. Okay. So yesterday we started with this chapter about bhava, or emotions, for those on the platform of bhava, which actually comes after asakti, which means complete attachment to Krishna, which comes after ruchi, which means a taste, which comes after nishta, which means being steady in Krishna consciousness. So yesterday we talked about the anubhavas. Anubhavas, that's the first category of bhavas that we're talking about, are basically voluntary ecstatic symptoms. Voluntary means you can decide to do them, or you can not decide to do them. In other words, you can repress them. Sorry, not repress. Suppress, that's the proper word. You can suppress the symptoms. Yeah. If it's an anubhava. If there are other types of bhavas, you cannot suppress them. Okay. So, again, I'll read the translation here from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about anubhavas. External transformations known as anubhavas are actions. In other words, voluntary actions, such as dancing. I can choose not to dance, I can choose to dance, roll on the ground, I can roll on the ground, or not choose to roll on the ground, singing, etc. Shouting, stretching the body. Of course, Narada Muni, he would stretch his body so much that his Brahman thread would break. Bellowing, yawning, sorry. Breathing heavily, disregarding others, drooling, laughing loudly, whirling about, and hiccups. Now, of course, people can manifest these symptoms without being on the Transcendental Bhava platform. But they may be just imitations, or they may be experience material emotions. So just because if we find someone manifesting these particular symptoms, it doesn't mean they're on the platform of bhava. It could mean a variety of things. You know, it could mean they heard a joke, so they're laughing loudly. Or they're dancing because they're at a disco. Or yawning because they're tired. Anyway, so these are not sufficient to prove that someone's on the platform of bhava. So next category of bhavas are called sattvika bhavas. Now, the reason they're called sattvika bhavas is that these particular emotions are manifest when the chitta, consciousness, is in touch with Shuddha Sattva. What is Shuddha Sattva? Shuddha Sattva means the pure mode of transcendental goodness. Now there's ordinary sattva, which is material goodness, and there's ordinary different other modes of nature like kama. And anyway, so, but these modes are not centered on Krishna, whereas Vishuddha Sattva is centered on Krishna. That's the difference. And so when one's chitta, consciousness, is in contact with Vishuddha Sattva, these bhavas or emotions are actually manifest. I don't read the Sanskrit. This is also from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.3.16. Te stambasveda romancha swaravedota vipatu vaivarnyamasru pralaya ichasto sattvikasmita. The 8 sattvika bhavas are paralysis, perspiration, hairs standing on end, choking of the voice, trembling, changing color, tears, and fainting. So these are sattvika means it's their constitutional, they're part of being in touch with the transcendental mode of goodness, which has no contamination from the mode of passion or the mode of ignorance. In the material world, the material mode of goodness has some contamination with the other modes. It's not in its pure state. In other words, someone in the mode of goodness, let's take an example, make an example. Let's say someone in the mode of goodness is appreciating what? The sunset, how beautiful the sunset is. And certainly it is beautiful because it's a manifestation of Krishna's beauty. But they're not thinking that, this is a manifestation or reflection or a spark of Krishna's splendor. They're thinking themselves, I'm enjoying this sunset. They're not taking it as service to Krishna. So that means there is some passion there. That's right. Passion means my own enjoyment. So it is not pure goodness. Pure goodness, Krishna is so wonderful. He manifests all these different qualities within the material world. And even in pure goodness, one will see disgusting or ugly things as a manifestation of Krishna. Not that Krishna is ugly, but everything in this world, whether it is goodness, passion, or ignorance, is a manifestation of Krishna. And all beautiful, attractive things, all ugly things, death is a manifestation of Krishna. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. So a devotee sees everything as a manifestation of Krishna, and there's no question of enjoying or repulsion. Bhagavad Gita tells us that attraction and repulsion are felt by conditioned souls, whereas a pure devotee is not repulsed. Even if a pure devotee sees like disgusting, something like a pile of stool, he's not disgusted with it. Of course, he doesn't touch it, obviously. He wants to maintain his purity, but he's not disgusted. Nor is he elated when he sees like some beautiful or handsome or attractive person. He thinks, it's a manifestation of Krishna's energies, that's all. So he's nirapeksha. Nirapeksha means disinterested, neutral. He's in the neutral stage as far as the material world. As far as in relationship to Krishna, he's not neutral. But a pure devotee always has this neutrality in relationship to Krishna, in relationship to the material world. He's always neutral insofar as himself interacting with the material world, although he accepts things favorable for serving Krishna and rejects things unfavorable. But as far as his own personal life, he's neutral. He doesn't become attracted to an attractive person, and he doesn't become repulsed by an ugly person. That's true. Like Lord Chaitanya says, let me explain in terms of an example. Once upon a time, Sanatana Goswami came to Jagannath Puri, and when he was in Jagannath Puri, on the way to Jagannath Puri, he was drinking contaminated water, and therefore he developed this sort of like sores, eczema, whatever it was, little sores with pus on them all over his body. And when Lord Chaitanya saw him, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forcibly embraced him And Sanatana Goswami was very embarrassed about that. He was ready to jump under the cart of Lord Jagannath during the Rath Yatra ceremony because he felt, now I'm committing so many offenses. Eventually, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals to him, he says that actually, if I got disgusted by these sores, then I would not really be qualified as a spiritualist or as a sannyasi. So in other words, that's neutrality. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further revealed to Sanatana Goswami that I embraced you because you're like my children. That is, you and Haridas Thakur, he was referring to at that particular time. And so the mother embraces the child, even if the child is covered with excrement. That's the love of a mother for a child. And that's a higher principle, too. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loves his devotees like this. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, because you're a pure devotee, whatever is coming out, the oozing of those sores, it smells like chatushana, which is like sandalwood, a mixture of other fragrant substances that are very pleasant. So pure devotee's body should never be considered bad or ugly or anything like that. Okay. So in Siddhadeha means when one's achieved the perfect spiritual body. The person is a spiritual servant of Krishna. When the rati of being a servant, dasha rati arises, the jiva considers material life to be useless. He gives up all designations, as this verse states. Naham viprona cha nadapatir na pivaisho na shudro naham varni na cha grahapatir no vanasto yatir va kintu prodyan nikala paramananda purnamrita der gopi bhardu padakamalai or dasanu dasa, famous verse. I am not a Brahmin, a king, a Vaishya, or Shudra. I am not a brahmachari, householder, vanaprastha, or sannyasi. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of the master of the gopis, who manifests a full, sweet ocean of the highest bliss. That's from Rupa Goswami's Pajavali. So the steady actions of a person in bhava are described. Seva sadaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tad bhava lipsuna karya mraja lokanu sarata. Following after the inhabitants of Braj, one should perform service in one's physical body and one's siddha body with a desire for a particular bhava. In other words, this is also from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-295. In other words, as you're performing service externally, not that you give up that service, then internally you're serving Radha and Krishna in some way, in some rasa, some rati, in the spiritual realm. So devotee is in two places at one time. And in fact, he's mainly on the spiritual platform or in the spiritual realm. Mahaprabhu summarizes this condition. Paravyasani nari yagyarapi graha karmasu tad ivasvadayati antaranavasangarasa. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs, but within her heart, she is always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, first chapter, text 211. And of course, that verse was spoken to Raghunath Das Goswami when Raghunath Das Goswami was really practically trying to escape from home every day. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, don't act like a madman. Instead, you remain at home and act perfectly and don't arouse suspicion that you're always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And actually, a pure devotee does this to a certain extent. Of course, the pure devotee does talk about Krishna and his attachment to Krishna, and he preaches to people and everything like that. But a pure devotee will not reveal his or her feelings of ecstasy and attachment for Krishna to others. It's just like one keeps it hidden. One's supposed to hide one's Ishta Devata. One's supposed to hide one's beads, generally. This is something deep in the heart. Just like someone, even in the material world, they may be madly in love, but they should keep it to themselves. Other people are not interested in hearing about it. Of course, they may be, but that's called vicarious enjoyment, which is not very nice. So the mental state of the person is described. Kadaham yamuna tire namani tava kirtiyan udbhas pa punarikaksha rachayashami tandavam. O lotus-eyed Lord, when will I dance on the bank of the Yamuna with tears in my eyes while singing your names? It's also from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The Nitya Siddha Bhava, the eternally liberated emotion of the jiva, is to be the servant of Krishna. In the bound condition, this is covered by ignorance. So in other words, it's there, but it's covered. By cultivating a relationship with Krishna, bhava manifests spontaneously. One must cultivate this bhava without duplicity. This is interesting. It also indicates that Krishna consciousness and Krishna prema is inherent. As we oftentimes mention, there's this discussion, is Krishna consciousness or Krishna prema inherent or inherited? In other words, is it within you, or do you get it from someone else? And the Acharyas make it very clear. It is inherent. It's within you. Nitya, another verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Satya Koronai, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, Kore Udoy. And I quote this verse quite often. That Krishna consciousness, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, is eternally established in the heart. Saja Koronai. It's not something you get, but you can attain it, or not so much attain it, but you can realize it by Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, by chanting and hearing, specifically here it mentions hearing, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, the pure heart, the pure consciousness, the pure self, Kore Udoy, will realize it. Not get it, but realize it. By cultivating a relationship with Krishna, bhava manifests spontaneously. So you cultivate this relationship. Of course, in the beginning, that relationship is Jivera Swarupa Hoidacha Krishna Das. I'm a servant of Krishna. And as one advances, it becomes revealed to one what type of service one will be doing in the spiritual realm. But that's an advanced stage, and you have to corroborate that with your authority, your spiritual master. Yes, Guru Maharaj, I think I'm a cow. And Guru Maharaj will say, then moo. No, he won't say that. He will actually corroborate that and say, no, you're not ready to think about that right now. Just get to work and trust the deities. So one must cultivate this bhava without duplicity. Duplicity means you're not going to show off or anything like that. Tadashmaksharam hridayam vatedam yadgriyaman ar harinama deyai. Now, Vicreate tanta yada vikaro. Netre jalam gatra raheshu harsha. That heart, famous verse, which does not transform on hearing the names of the Lord, even though he shows tears in the eyes and hair standing on end, is made of iron. Bhagavatam 2:3-24. Actually, Prabhupada translates it a little bit different. Basically, if one doesn't cry and hair stand on end when you chant the holy names of the Lord, your heart is made of iron. I mean, it's similar, but it's a little bit different translation. By cultivating attraction to the name, gradually the form of Krishna appears spontaneously. There's that word spontaneously again. It's not an artificial imposition on the mind, as Prabhupada would often say. So, spontaneously it appears. Nama, like we have this nama, rupa, guna, lila. Not necessarily always in that order, but we chant the name, and the form of Krishna manifests itself before our eyes or in our heart. Rupa, guna, the qualities of Krishna become manifest to us. And then finally, what? The lila becomes manifest to us. Lila means the pastimes or activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By cultivating attraction to the name, gradually the form of Krishna appears spontaneously. Wow. Bhaktis. So if you cultivate attraction to the name, you will see Krishna. Bhaktis tvayi tira tira bhagavan yadi syad. Taimena na phalati aphalati divyakshora murti mukti swayam mukurli tanjali sevate sman dharmata kama gataya samaya pratiksha. O omniscient Lord, if bhakti to you remains firm, the sporting youthful form will automatically be mine. Liberation in person serves me with folded hands, and the goals of Dharma, Artha, and Kama wait expectantly to serve me. This is from Bivamangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita. At the stage of bhava, one cultivates the name in association with devotees. Very important. Parasparanu kattanam pavanam bhagavat yasha mithoritir mitastustir nirvatir mithatmana smaranta smarayantascha mitho gogaharam harim mokja sanjataya bhaktya vibrat yutpulakam tanu. The disciple should learn to develop attraction for the glories of the Lord through discussions with other devotees. That's like Machata Mankata Pranabodhyantascha Parasparam. He will experience happiness from their association, and mutually they will become detached from material enjoyment. Remembering and inspiring other devotees to remember the Lord who destroys all sins, the devotees will develop hair standing on end in ecstasy by prema bhakti produced from sadhana bhakti. It's all based on association with devotees. Sometimes the devotee acts in the following way. Namana nantasya hatatrapa bhatan guyani vadrani kritani chasmaran comes paryatam stutta managataspraha kalam pratikshan vimato vimatsara. Giving up shyness, I began to chant the names of the unlimited Lord and remember his most excellent hidden pastimes. I wandered the earth with satisfied mind, without material desires, without pride or selfishness, waiting for that time. I believe that was Narada Muni discussing his past life. Kvachit rudan chatuta chintaya kvatid dasanti nandanti vadantyalo kika Richyanti gayanjanu shilayanjajam bhavanti tushnim param Nirvita. Sometimes they weep because of thoughts of the Lord. Sometimes they laugh, become joyful, or speak without regard for society. They dance, sing, and concentrate their senses on Krishna. Having attained the Lord and experiencing bliss, they remain silent. So these are certain symptoms of devotees who are on the platform of Bhava. One becomes attracted to the Lord's form by seeing him. Here the Lord's form is being described. Shamam Aranya Paridim Vanamalya Varha Dhatu Prabhala Natavesha Manu Vratam Se Vinyasta Hashtam Mitarhena Dunu Nanam Abjam Karnot Palalaka Kopola Mukhabjahasam. His complexion was dark blue and his garment golden, wearing a peacock feather, colored minerals, sprigs of flower buds, and a garland of forest flowers and leaves. He was dressed just like a dramatic dancer. He rested one hand upon the shoulder of a friend, and with the other twirled a lotus. Blue lotuses graced his ears, his hair hung down over his cheeks, and his lotus-like face was smiling. That's from the Bhagavatam 10:23-22. Another description from the Bhagavatam. Barha pidam natavarabahu karneya karnikaram vibradvasa kanaka kapisham vajayantim chamalam randran vainordara sudaya pura nyagopi vrindar vrindaranyam swapada ramanam pravishad gita kirti. Wearing a peacock feather ornament on his head, blue karnikara flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. That's Bhagavatam 10:21-5. So these are all symptoms of one who was on the platform of Bhava, how they're appreciating Krishna, perceiving his form. One becomes fascinated with the Lord's form, which enchants even Krishna in chanting the name. Yan marchalila payikam suyoga Maya Balam Darshayata Grihitam Vishwapanam Swasha Jaso Bagarde Parampanam Bhushanangam. Krishna possesses that form suitable for human pastimes to show the full capacity of his yoga Maya. That form astonishes even the Lord of Vaikuntha. It is the pinnacle of auspicious qualities and enhances the beauty of his ornaments. In other words, even Lord Vishnu becomes astonished, and Lord Vishnu is not different from Krishna, becomes astonished when he sees the form of Krishna. Even Krishna becomes astonished. There's actually a story one time when Krishna saw a reflection of himself on a body of water, and he just became stunned. Oh my God, who is that attractive person? So, of course, with Krishna, it's not false ego. If we do that, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most attractive one of all? then that is false ego, because we are simply looking at a body that is filled with bile, mucus, and air, and other interesting substances. Okay, next verse. Yashananam Makarakundalacharu Karna Vrajat Kapola Sobagam Savilasahasam Iyotsavam na Tatripur Drishibi Vivantyo Naryo Narascha Mudita Kupitani Meshcha. The joyful gopis and Priyanarma Sakas, that means the friends who are very close to him, drank with their eyes Krishna's face, a continual festival of delight, and with his playful smile, attracted with beautiful cheeks and ears, shining from his makaras, that means shark-shaped earrings. But they could not be fully satisfied, and became angry with the Creator, who made their eyes blink. Of course, that's Lord Brahma they became angry with. Bhagavatam 9:24-65. Yadharma sunora bata rajasuye nirikshatrex vaschayanam triloka kartjena chadyeha gatam vidatur arvakshrito koshalam ichamanyata. At the Rajasuya sacrifice of Yudhisthira, all the people of the universe, seeing the form of the Lord, which created auspiciousness in all directions, consider that the skill of the Creator in making the most beautiful objects in the recent universe was nullified completely at that time. In other words, in comparison with the most beautiful thing in this material world, Krishna's beauty outshines it. In other words, if you compare the most beautiful thing in this world to Krishna's beauty, that most beautiful thing in this world is insignificant. Doesn't even have a speck of splendor compared to Krishna's beauty. The result of seeing the Lord's form with affection is described. Yashanuraga pluta hasarasa ilavaloka pratilabda mana prajastriyo drikbir anupravatya dio tashtu kila kritya sesha. The women of Braja, after pastimes of laughter, rasas, and exchanges of glances, followed him with their eyes when he left, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Bhagavatam 3:2-14. One realizes that the sweet Lord is full of all powers. So these are all different realizations that one gets when one reaches the platform of Baba. Swayam tvasam yati shayastri triyadisha swarajalakshmyapta samastakama balim harad bishjila okapalai kiritakoti ditapada pita. No one is equal to him or superior to him. He is the master of the three energies and three Vishnus. That's the Mahavishnu, Gaudakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. All his desires are fulfilled by Lakshmi and his rulership over his devotees' pastimes and qualities. His feet are praised by the sound of 10 million crowns of the devatas offering respect should be of, while presenting gifts. Bhagavatam 3:2-21. His mercy is inconceivable. Just hearing these qualities of Krishna, one becomes overwhelmed with happiness and ecstasy. Krishnanubhavo syanabdeva vidmahe tavangri renum sporshiyadikara yanvanchya shrir lalanacharattapo vihaya kaman suchiram drita. O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya has attained this great opportunity of being touched by the dust of your lotus feet. For this end, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and taking austere vows. Hmm. Another verse from the Bhagavatam 10:16-36. The gopis of Braj have the highest bhakti. This is a very famous verse here. Nayam Shriyonga un nitanta rate prasada swaryoshitam nalina ganda rucham kutonya rasotsavesya bhujaganda grahita kanta labda shusham ya udagad brajasundari nam. When Sri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Rasa Leela, the gopis were embraced by the arms of the Lord. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or other consorts in the spiritual world. Indeed, never was such a thing even imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets, whose bodily luster and aroma resemble the lotus flower. And what to speak of other worldly women who are very beautiful according to material estimation. 10:47-60. So, of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted this verse when he was speaking to Venkatabhata. In this way, he was establishing the gopis' superiority over the goddesses of fortune, that is, over the Lakshmis. All types of devotees worship the bhava of the devotees. In other words, all the devotees worship the emotions of the gopis, regardless of what platform they're at, whether they're in Shantaras, Dasharas, Satyaras, Vatsalyaras, and of course Madhurya Ras, that's another thing. So, Asamaho Charanarenu Jusham Aham Sham Vrindavane Kim Apigulma Lotaksha Dinam Yadushjajam Swajanam Arya Patam Chahitwa Bejur Mukunda Paravim Shruti Bir Vimrim Yam. The gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, sons, and other family members who are very difficult to give up. And they have forsaken the path of chastity to take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, Krishna, which one should search for by Vedic knowledge. Oh, let me be fortunate enough to be one of the bushes, creepers, or herbs in Vrindavan, because the gopis trample them and bless them with the dust of their lotus feet. So, of course, Uddhava is praying like this. Let me just become dust. And he has the benediction that he's actually become dust and become a creeper or creepers in Vrindavan. There's actually one place at Govardhan called Uddhava Kund, and there's deities there called Uddhava Bihari. And at that particular location, it's said that Uddhava resides, so the gopis can walk on him when they're near Govardhan Hill. Very, very special place. So one more verse we'll read, and then we'll stop for the day. Brahma, oops, I guess we should stop right now, because we have to leave time for questions. So let me just read this verse and we'll have less time for questions. Eta param tanubrito bhavi gopa vadvo Govinda he nakiliyatmane ruda bhava vanchanti adbhava bhyo munio vayam cha kim brahma janmabhir ananta kathara sasya. Amongst all persons on earth, these coward women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. Their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence, by great sages, and by ourselves as well. For one who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord, what is the use of taking birth as a high-class Brahmin, or even as Lord Brahma himself? Complete detachment is from the Bhagavatam 10:47-58. Okay, so we'll finish with that page, and tomorrow we'll continue with this section of Bhajan Rahasya. We only have 18 more pages to go after this to finish the book. Okay, so now we will stop sharing, and if anyone wants to ask a question, you can either raise your hand in the chat window, which is a little heart thing on the reactions, it says, or you can type in the text window, you can type your question. And if you raise your hand, I will call on you and allow you to unmute yourself. So does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand. Otherwise, we end early. Questions, comments, arguments? All right. Guess we can end. Oh, okay. Rasa Sekara, I will give you permission. Hold on a second. Now you can unmute yourself. Whoops.
Hare Krishna Gurudev,
Hello.
please accept my humble obeisance, Gurudev.
Prabhupada.
One small question, Gurudev. It's about, Gopi Bhava. Okay, so the way it is described so far is that Gopi Bhava is the topmost in
Mm-hmm.
the Bhakti platform. How do we
Mm-hmm.
see, what are the levels which we have between, the fallen souls like us and between that Gopi Bhava to attain?
Well, Gopi Baba basically means Shlishavapada Panashtamama Darshana Maharmatam Karotava Yata Tata Va Vadalatu Lampato Mat Prananata Stuse Ivanaparaha. That's the definition of Gopi Baba by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As you probably know, the translation of that Krishna, you can crush me by your embrace, leave me broken heart by not being present before me. You're completely free to do anything and everything, and you will always remain my Lord unconditionally. So that's actually a definition of Gopi Baba. Not necessarily that one has a Gopi body, but the bhav, so bhav, of the gopis is that Krishna, you can do anything. We're willing to go to hell. And if one wants to understand Gopi Baba, then one has to enter into that particular mood. So, in one sense, as described by the verses we've been reading, that everybody in the spiritual world has that sort of Gopi Baba, not necessarily gopis, but they're all willing to go to hell to serve Krishna, and they're all assisting the gopis. So, as far as understanding your particular Siddhadeha or nature in relationship to the gopis, first you should try to imbibe that particular mood of the gopis, which is, the causeless devotional service. I'm willing to go to hell. I'm willing to go anywhere you want. I'm willing to stay in the material world to serve you, Krishna, if that gives you happiness, Krishna. Then you can understand Gopi Baba, and then you can actually assist the gopis in the spiritual world. So, as far as, what your spiritual body is like, that gets revealed to you. But the essence of Gopi Baba is that last verse in the Shikshashtaka. And that's what you should meditate on. And then you'll understand all these things, okay?
Okay, Gurudev.
You there? Yes? Say yes so you know. You're still on mute, so. Okay. Whoop, did my screen freeze or something like that? Yeah, it looks like my screen froze because the internet sometimes has been doing that to me. So I don't know if everybody heard the explanation I gave. The explanation. Do you hear the explanation I gave? Or no? Rasa Sekara, did you hear the explanation I gave? Or no. No? Did anybody hear? Anyway, so let me repeat. So Gopi Baba is exactly what's described in the last verse of the Shikshashika. That Krishna, you may crush me by your embrace, you may leave me brokenhearted by not being present before me. You're completely free to do anything and everything, and you'll always remain my worshipful Lord unconditionally. That's how we understand Gopi Baba. And if we meditate on that verse, we try to apply that verse in our own life insofar as possible, taking care of our material needs, of course, as well, then we will eventually be able to understand fully what Gopi Baba is in our place in relationship with that Gopi Baba. But that's the essence of Gopi Baba, and everyone should try to imbibe that. Okay? Other questions? Does anyone else have a question here? You can raise your hand, and I can allow you to unmute yourself or selves. If not, we can end a little early tonight. It's not that much early, 4 minutes early. Okay, going once. Oh, Lavanga Manjari, you have a question. You're going to be allowed to unmute. You can unmute yourself. Okay.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept our humble obeisances, Gurudev.
Jai, all glories to Prabhupada.
Gurudev, I have been thinking about Gajendra Moksha. So, Gajendra able to remember Hari at the end of his life when he was in trouble.
Yeah.
How can we remember Krishna when we were in trouble, and how can we get assurance?
We should develop the habit.
Mhm.
That's a good question. We should develop the habit whenever there's, we should develop the habit of always remembering Krishna, but at least whenever there's some dangerous situation, immediately
Mhm.
we should go to Krishna's name and remember Krishna.
Mhm.
It's a training and a habit you can develop. And I've used this example many times in my class that somehow or other I've developed the habit when someone else is driving the car and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, every time there's some action the driver takes or there's some dangerous situation, I go, Hare Krishna.
Mhm.
So anybody who drives me, which I don't like because I like driving myself, but anyone who drives me is aware of that because they hear me say Hare Krishna quite a few times, because every time they make a dangerous move, every time there's some threat in the road, I automatically, without thinking about it,
Yeah.
I automatically say Hare Krishna. So that's the sort of habit we have to develop. You know, if there's some loud noise, all of a sudden shock, Hare Krishna.
Mhm.
If someone comes with a knife, Hare Krishna. If
Yeah.
we start to have chest pains and get ready to leave our body, Hare Krishna. That's a habit. And once we should train our mind, at least if we're not able to think of Krishna 24 hours a day, we should train our mind whenever there's some difficult situation, dangerous situation, threatening situation, we say Hare Krishna, or whenever we have an attraction to anything in this material world, which is also dangerous. Let's say we get attracted to something that'll take us away from Krishna.
Mhm.
Then we go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I remember in the old days in ISKCON, if some when there was a brahmachari and if some lady walks by, they would always go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the ladies, if an attractive man walks by, they go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But anyway, whatever is threatening, whatever is attractive, should elicit the Maha Mantra from our mouth. On that happy note, we should end the class.